I still don't know why it says with your host Jordan Lazowski, because I'm still not Jordan Lazowski, but it's fine.
I think you should make it with your occasional host, Jordan Lazowski.
Yeah, pretty much at this point, man. Anyway, welcome everybody to This Week in Baseball, episode 25, season 2. Today it's just myself, Diego Franco-Carreno, and then we've got Sam here. Sam, how are you today? How
I am exceptionally mediocre.
That's fair. That's a good way to same, yeah. But yeah, things will look a little different here. Clearly, there's just the two of us, so it's a little not quite as back and forth as when we have 3 or 4 people on competing for points. But that does mean Sam will get this win this week by default. But a win's a win. But yeah, we'll go through the regular around the league in 60 seconds. Standing updates, there aren't really standings to update, so we'll cover it all anyway. We got our 7th inning stretch as normal, and then what to watch this week, maybe some storylines within the World Series. We know there's a finite amount of games to watch this week. So anyway, around the league in 60 seconds. Sam, give me your best recap of everything that's gone on this past week.
The Dodgers died.
Yes, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, same. But yes, here we have this team: Chris Taylor, Justin Turner, Trey Turner, Walker Buehler, etc. But the Braves, they have a guy that they got for Pablo Sandoval.
Those pesky Braves.
And then over in the other series, the Red Sox I don't think they were good enough.
They were respectable though, and they did what they could.
Chaim Bloom did a great job, but it's not their year.
Yeah, they got there. I'm impressed that they got that far, and so it was a solid team. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but like I said, around the league in 6 seconds when there's 4 teams playing, there's not much to summarize besides what we got going, and plus we're going to cover everything anyway here.
Yeah, so. You see Nick Castellanos, he got a new couch. Headline story.
Very exciting. That's extremely important.
I don't know whether he actually got a new couch, but he might have.
Who knows? Anyway, so we'll just jump into our 7th inning stretch since there isn't much in terms of summarizing the league, since the league is 4 teams now down to 2, but we'll talk about that here. So with our 7th inning stretch, our first inning. We are at the end. Now it comes down to the Braves and the Astros, those 2 teams that I just mentioned that we're down to. Are you surprised by the fact that these are the 2 teams at the end of the road? Are you excited by the fact that these are the final 2 teams this year? And what are the keys in the World Series for these 2 teams?
Obviously, it defaults to me, but I would say I think it's just the right amount of postseason bull crap. Like the 83 and 79 Cardinals didn't make the World Series, but it wasn't Dodgers, but wasn't Dodgers Rays again.
Yeah.
So, there hasn't really been much variety in the postseason lately. So it's good to see the Braves haven't made it in a while. When was the last time the Nats made it after not making it for a while?
Mm-hmm.
This
is the first Braves appearance since '99.
Since I wasn't even alive. What the heck?
Fair enough.
I do like the Astros. I think I hate them, but good job. You don't have to cheat. So
yeah, the storyline for the Astros, at least for me as a Giants fan, was Dusty Baker, and I love Dusty Baker. He did an incredible job managing that team this year, considering all the trials and tribulations that they had. With the fans returning since them being exposed to cheating and all that. And granted, they're still most of the same team they had from that 2017 or all those
2019
really, really good
more
teams. All those runs in general.
Yeah, as a Reds fan, Dusty Baker, I want him to win. I think it's kind of interesting to see how he kind of kept everyone in check. It's the same guy who somehow got Matt Latos to not be the worst for a bit.
Right.
Like, I
yeah.
think that's the highest standard of character managing there is.
Yeah. Dusty Baker, he's so well respected around the sport. And it's incredible to see him do this again. Like, because he became the 9th manager to get to the World Series with both an AL and NL team. He made it with the 2002 Giants.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was the 2000 manager of the 2002 Giants
Really?
that lost to the Angels in the
I
World
knew he
Series.
played for the Giants in, like, the 70s. Didn't know he managed them.
Oh, he was a longtime Giants manager. He was, I believe,
Oh,
the
wow.
predecessor to Bruce Bochy. I think there might have been one or two between, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. But yeah, he was a Giants manager. That's why I love Dusty so much. He was a great manager for the Giants. Got him to the World Series when I was 3 years old. But besides the point. But yeah, the Astros, the Braves. I'm going to talk on the question as well. But if it couldn't be the Giants, these two teams, I'm not upset about these two teams making it.
Neither
Mostly
am I.
because, like I said, I'm glad the Dodgers aren't there. I hate the Dodgers with my entire existence. And I like Dusty Baker. The Braves are fun. They've been just like you said earlier, just the right amount of postseason like baseball team. They're just the team now. Like they seem to be figuring it all out at the right time, which is kind of what you need. So
They give me
I wouldn't mind.
They give me very much 2019 Nationals vibes.
Exactly. So I wouldn't mind either of these teams winning. Frankly, I
would much rather the Braves win.
I mean, same, but like I wouldn't mind if Dusty Baker gets a ring. So
yeah, it's kind of the conflict. Like, do you root for the team with the really cool manager, or do you root for the team with the really crappy fan base?
Yeah, exactly. It's you pick your poison kind of thing. But I mean, so is most of baseball, most of sports in general.
But
so
don't have to root for the Dodgers.
Yes,
that's what's important.
I'll never root for the Dodgers, but yeah, I'm just so glad.
To be fair, I would have rooted for the Dodgers. I did root for the Dodgers against the Cardinals, just because I hate the Cardinals with every fiber of my being.
That's fair for you. I understand that. I just hate the Dodgers. Like the way you hate the Cardinals, I hate the Dodgers. So
yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on to our. No, keep going. No, keep going.
I was done.
It's
whatever.
Right. Well,
move on to the second inning.
Okay, second inning. So we'll start with the NLCS, where the Braves did take down the Dodgers, like we had just mentioned, in 6 games. So how were they able to do it, and how impressive is their season, given what that they're doing? All this without Acuna, and they were 44-45 at the All-Star break.
You can win with balance. That's kind of the mantra. Like, really got to think, like, yes, the Dodgers have all this talent, and it kind of creates a log jam. There are only 9 players that can start, and probably every single hitter on that postseason roster probably could start on a major league team and do pretty well.
Yeah.
But like the Braves, they don't have very many All-Stars in the starting lineup right now, and they just have a bunch of good, not great hitters.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a team that's not, like. I like that kind of team. Like this team is not gonna. You're not gonna get like a I don't know House of Highlights Braves videos.
Yeah.
Eddie Rosario slides in the home plate real cool. You're not gonna get a 3-day news cycle about it.
Oh, right, exactly. Like, I mean, I think that's kind of the story of the season, though, because especially with what the Giants did this year, because they did it all with a collection of like good players, but no one that really stood out. Besides, like, because like Crawford stood out, Posey stood out, but like, and those are just kind of like they stood out because of how the team was doing. I feel like a lot of other years they probably would have been passed by because that's typically how it kind of goes in baseball. But the Braves are just able to do it at the right time. They're like everyone's doing their job. Any guy on that team can give you that big hit. They can pitch that big inning, and it's just working out. And it's gotten the World Series. It's gotten this far, and it's impressive to see.
Like it's kind of weird because like losing Acuna for the season was the best thing that could have happened to them.
Yeah, because if that doesn't happen,
they never get Rosario. They never get Soler.
Yep, never get Jock, who's been really big in this postseason as well. Actually,
obviously,
Jock earlier.
The narrative is Eddie, obviously, Eddie Rosario.
Yeah.
Gotta think, like, do they? But, like, a lot of times the World Series comes down to who can start that big game.
Yeah. Right.
And, like, the Nationals in 2019, they lived and died by Steven Strasburg.
Mm-hmm.
And just Steven Strasburg.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting, like, who's going to be their go-to guy? Is it Max Fried? Do they go Charlie Morton? Like,
they've got good options.
Yeah, they have good options, but they don't have that elite guy.
Right.
Which is kind of concerning.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, when you think about it, like the Dodgers, that was kind of their downfall. They just they weren't able to get that big guy where they wanted to. And they tried to do a bunch of other stuff that ended up not working for them. And like, I know I saw today, Roberts had mentioned using Scherzer in Game 5 of the NLDS kind of screwed him over for the NLCS. And that's why he doesn't start Game 6. And Game 6, they lose, and now they're done. Because ideally, like Buehler, they started Buehler on short rest several times in the postseason, which also was something I think not great for him or the team, because in those short rest starts, he didn't pitch amazing. He pitched fine, but he didn't pitch the Walker Buehler we'd seen most of the year. So it's
like at that point, like bring in like a Tony Gonsolin, a Julio Urias.
Yeah,
with a
they did the same
arm,
thing with
like
they used Urias in a weird kind of relief role in the postseason.
Yeah.
And it was odd to say the least. But like you had said, like Strasburg in 2019, like he was the guy. Like another thing, at least for me, like Bumgarner in 2014, he was the guy. Like when you have the guy, it often leads to World Series success because you're at the end of the road. Everything's throw everything you got.
Like even like kind of like the Cubs in 2016 rode Chapman to the ground.
Yep.
The only reason the Nationals, in my opinion, the only reason the Nationals were able to pitch Scherzer so much because they beat the crap out of the Cardinals in that NLCS.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose 2 games, I don't think they win the World Series.
Right. It's the wear and tear throughout the season really affects it, and that's another thing with the Dodgers.
And like the Dodgers didn't get that random BS
Yep.
Anibal Sanchez game.
Yep.
Like,
so it's it's just a weird season, and I think this World Series is a good indication of how kind of funky the season was. So ultimately, I think this is the World Series. This World Series makes sense. So
yeah, everyone thought the Giants were a team of destiny. Turns out it was Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll move on to inning number 3 here. Question number 3. So we talked about the NLCS. We'll shift over to the ALCS now, where the Astros took down the Red Sox in 6 games as well. Boston had a hold on the series as well, 2-1. They had the lead. So what was that defining point of the series, and how badly should the Red Sox be kicking themselves for letting the series slip away?
Hard question. I didn't really watch much ALCS baseball this year.
That's fair.
Mainly because I didn't care who won.
Makes sense. I don't blame you.
But I think in general, I mean, like, who the Red Sox, the rotation, like the Red Sox, their rotation. I mean, when your best options are Eduardo Rodriguez and Nick Pivetta, you cannot beat the Astros with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You cannot beat Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Jordan Alvarez, and Jose Altuve with those guys.
At least not consistently enough. Like, you can do it once or twice, sure, but like consistency is what makes that tough.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to sweep baseball's going to baseball, but you're not going to win.
Yeah, but like the interesting thing, like from that Game 4 on, that those scores are so in Game 4, 9-2 Astros. Game 5, 9-1 Astros, and then Game 6, 5-0 Astros. Like they dominated the latter half of the series. And they did it with pitching and hitting, which is kind of whack. It's kind of crazy considering they lost McCullers. And like you just mentioned, you ride a guy, like that's the guy they wanted to like be their dude during the postseason.
You can ride Framber Valdez. Like, I thoroughly believe that Framber Valdez is horrendously underrated.
Pitcher. He's a very good pitcher.
Like, he is the Richard Blyer of the Astros. He's just that guy.
Yeah. They've also got.
I'm not sure if anyone listens to this without watching Foolish Baseball, but Richard Blair, look at the Statcast page.
That's fair. And they also have Luis Garcia, who's kind of emerged a bit as a guy who they've gotten some really big innings out of. And it's just interesting to see, and this seems to happen every year. There's always a random guy from teams that make it all the way that seem to just do it. Like with the Braves, obviously it's Rosario, right? And like with the Astros, the guy you wouldn't expect, I'd say Luis Garcia. But it's been crazy. That is also a whack series. The Red Sox being there was crazy, but good for them. And like you said, Nick Pivetta, Rodriguez, you're only getting so much with them. So.
I mean, the thing is, like, the Astros, like I don't know what role to expect of Yordan Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's gonna be kind of crazy
because like you have McCormick, you got like McCormick, and you got Brantley. Is Brantley there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the guy that can just hit.
Yeah, flat out hit.
Yeah, like honestly, letting him go, I killed the Indians.
They've got the guys.
They got the guys, but can they put it together?
Right.
And Dusty Baker is not a guy that puts it together.
I mean, it depends. Sometimes he is. Sometimes he does what he can. I feel like a lot of the time, and most of the time, it's good enough.
I mean, he has had such good teams. He doesn't have a ring. Like, what does that say about his in-game managing?
That's fair.
Maybe those teams don't get there without him, but they don't win. They don't win with him.
Right. We'll see. If he might get the ring this year, and if he does, I'd be extremely impressed, considering the state of the roster and how much surrounded that team.
I'm just thinking, like, Dusty doesn't really have to do much.
Yeah, he's got the talent, that's for sure.
Like, I think Sparky Anderson said at one point, his idea of managing was just watching Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
Just watching him go.
Yeah.
I think Dusty's idea of managing has got to be just watching Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve and Bregman and Correa and every other elite hitter that somehow found his way onto the same team at the same time.
Yeah, that team, it's all going to be over here soon because Correa is almost definitely gone the offseason, I'd say.
Oh, no way.
You don't think so?
No, he's saying.
Okay, fair enough. We can get a little bit later here, but
they'll throw money at him.
Yeah, we'll circle back around to that because I do want. Yeah. We'll touch back on that in a bit, but we'll move on though to the fourth inning here, or fourth question. So Lance McCullers, who we had just mentioned, does not seem to be ready to pitch in the World Series due to that forearm strain that's kept him out of the ALCS. And so the Astros were able to get to the Red Sox without him, but can they do it again with the Braves?
That entirely depends on. I don't think it comes down to the Astros pitching. It comes down to the Braves offense.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Lance McCullers is leaps and bounds ahead of Valdez and Urquidy and Garcia.
Really? I mean, that's a fair take. That's fair.
Like,
I like him a lot. I like McCullers a lot.
I like McCullers, but like, if I had the choice between whether to start McCullers on 3 days rest or Valdez on 5, I would start Valdez.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
And he really just gotta, like, I think that he just has to. Braves gotta get hot. Like, they are hot right now. They gotta stay there. Like, they obviously have that. They had that vaunted infield core. Like, will Dansby Swanson show up? We know Freddie Freeman's gonna show up. We know Austin Riley's gonna show up. But what about like Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler? Are they gonna show up?
They need to keep it up. Adam Duvall,
because those guys weren't there, and they were 500 the first half.
Mm-hmm.
So if those guys don't show up, they'll just be right back where they started at the beginning of the season without Acuna or Soroka.
No, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, I think that's some really good points. The Braves offense has proven it can be extremely high-powered, extremely hard-hitting, but they're also susceptible to that, if those guys don't show up, like you just said, that pre-All-Star break Braves where you're 44 and 45, you're just chugging along, just getting through it, doing the motions, but not truly a great team. But we'll see.
Kind of. Yeah, it's just kind of been the Phillies the past 4 seasons. Like,
Mm-hmm. That's the point. And the Red Sox, they're a good team, but I think they definitely had their flaws, and I think those flaws were just abused by the Astros.
I think that Chaim Bloom's philosophy is gonna really kick into gear next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
just don't.
surprised if this Red Sox team's back in the postseason. Like,
Oh yeah,
next season.
I think this Red Sox team could be a dynasty this decade
Okay,
because they
that's
have.
fair.
I think they have a top 5 GM and money, which is a very rare combination. And we see what
Yeah.
the Dodgers do with Friedman and money. I think the Red Sox do the same with Bloom and money.
Yeah, they also have a pretty good farm system, if I recall correctly. They've got a few like really highly thought of guys, some top prospects that should, in theory, be able to provide a lot in the next 3 or 4 years down the road.
My question is, what do they do with Marcelo Meyer and Xander Bogaerts?
Oh, I am excited to see what they figure out.
Like, do you start one of them at second? Like, it's gonna be fascinating.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, poor Abraham Toro. He basically could. I think he probably would have gotten paid if he wasn't stuck behind Bregman.
Yeah, I mean, but it happens. We'll see. That's all. Down the road. We'll get there. Yeah. But good problems to have. Talented players. Like, I guess never really thought about the Red Sox as being one of the next dynasties, but I think you're definitely right. Like, they definitely have that kind of potential with the money, the GM, the talent, the minors, the current squad. So we'll see what ends up being of the Red Sox.
Yep.
So we'll move on here to inning number 5, question number 5, fact or fiction. Game 6 of the NLCS is the last that we will see of Albert Pujols.
It's a tough one. I think he wants to keep playing. Like, I think he wants. I think if he had one ring, he wouldn't have come back. But I think he just wants to. Like, he might go to I think he'd go St. Louis or the White Sox. Because he has history with La Russa, history with the St. Louis organization. But I'd put money on him wanting to keep playing. I would not put money on an organization wanting to take him on. Because you kind of really need that hyper-competitive Dodgers kind of being able to platoon him every day.
Yeah, exactly. But when you think about it, the Dodgers did take them on, and he performed well as a Dodger. Like, he was pretty good. His Dodger tenure is going to be looked back on a lot better than his Angels tenure.
Oh, yeah. Even though one was 10 times longer.
Exactly. So, like, it's interesting. I think you bring up a good point. St. Louis, the White Sox are definitely possible destinations for him. I think if we get the universal DH next year, I think someone's going to give him a chance. Someone's going to pick him up.
It seems like a very Tampa Bay signing.
Yep, that was exactly kind of what I was going to go with. If Cruz leaves Tampa, I wouldn't be surprised to see Albert Pujols down there, or just someone giving him a chance, at least like a spring training invite, because that's not the worst thing in the world. But he wouldn't sign for a ton of money either.
I think he's okay with league minimum.
Yeah, he should be.
If I've made $350 million over the course of my career, I'm set.
Yeah,
I just want to play baseball. I just want to play baseball for whoever wants me.
Yeah, if he can accept his role, like he had in the Dodgers, he accepted that role and did well in it. If he can do that again next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see him back.
And he seems like such a good clubhouse presence.
Yeah, the Dodgers players spoke very highly of him. And like St. Louis, especially with the new manager, what is it, Ollie something?
Oh, did they hire a new guy?
Yes, they did. I'll go find that really quick. That was announced like quite literally maybe 30 minutes before we started recording. Ollie Marmol. Yeah. He was their bench coach, I believe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
35. And I would not be surprised to see Pujols go in, serve as kind of like, that role like he kind of had up the Dodgers. Like, oh, yeah, he's the veteran presence, good clubhouse guy.
I was honestly kind of hoping the Cardinals would manage.
With Pujols?
Yeah, just let Pujols manage the team. Who cares?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think the Cardinals make a ton of sense for a fit for him. If he wants to platoon, get a universal DH going.
Universal DH, because like he's blocked by Goldie if it doesn't happen. So
yeah,
because
you
Goldie
get a universal DH. Exactly. If we get a universal DH, I think Pujols as a Cardinal seems fitting. And I think then he would make it his last season too, and be his farewell tour.
Yeah, I'd also throw a Boston. They're not really too strong at first base. I feel like they could definitely swing a platoon there.
Yeah. Like I'll throw even like a super dark horse team at you. I wouldn't. I kind of like the universal DH fit in Colorado.
Ooh, he would bang.
Exactly.
Much like Joey Votto still does.
Joey Votto bangs. Yeah, like Colorado, I think could be cool for him.
But CJ Cron's gonna start every day.
Right. That's why I said universal DH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, if you're Colorado, like you can get in any scrub and he'll do well as a universal DH.
Exactly. So
it's Colorado.
Exactly.
I could probably get a hit or two.
Maybe.
Just bunt. just bunt and run.
Yeah. We'll take advantage of that Colorado atmosphere.
For 600 at bats and just hope.
Pray.
Yeah. Like, come on. Maybe this is the one.
Anyway, I think it's an interesting. We'll see what happens. An interesting question for sure. An interesting circumstance. It'll be fun to see how that shakes up. But if he announces retirement, I wouldn't be surprised by one bit.
I think it's like a managerial gig. Like he knows English, right?
Yeah.
He knows the language.
Even if he didn't, I don't think it's as much big of a barrier as people like to make it out to be.
Yeah, I know. Just given the fact that it would be a. Yeah, I mean, maybe the White Sox would hire him as a manager because they have such a heavy Latino locker room. If he didn't know the language, but I think he's a good fit anywhere, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pujols managing in 2-3 years.
Like, can we get like a throwback player manager kind of situation?
Maybe there's a chance
where you can just be like, no, these guys are doing well. All right, my turn.
Honestly, wouldn't be too surprised. Anyway, we'll move on here. Do you have anything left to add to that or no?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, inning number 6. Question number 6. Padres will interview Mike Schilt, formerly of the Cardinals, this week for their opening manager spot. A position that has the likes of Mike Scioscia, Ron Washington, Buck Showalter with rumored connections. Who is the best fit for the Padres, and given how the roster is currently constructed?
None of them.
Who do you think?
It's a young team. I would just go for any like good captain kind of former player that has a history with the organization. Like you kind of see how Spence kind of drew that with Beltran, and then things happened.
Yeah,
but I think if there weren't without the scandals, that would have been a great hire. Like this is a young team that needs it's Rod Barajas.
Yeah, it's a young team, and so it's a definitely interesting construction.
If they hire a manager over 50, I would not pencil them in as a playoff team next year.
That's
you gotta have a guy. You got probably I would say probably someone that's bilingual, someone that can relate to the locker room. Like I think that's kind of an under talked about like hiring thing. Like get someone who can like actually talk to most of the players in their native language.
Yep, that's fair. I think you make a good point there. But another point that you just started mentioning is like the young guys with like the locker rooms and like getting a guy that fits in that kind of way. That's kind of the Giants did with Kapler, and we saw the success that he was able to bring in San Francisco. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see a hire like that kind of.
Like I would take Ian Kinsler. He ended his career in San Diego, I think. Like I don't know. God, those teams.
Give me a Chase Headley.
Give me a Chase Headley. That is a throwback.
Yes, it is.
Give me a Hanley Ramirez.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys. I know Bruce Bochy was also kind of rumored there for a while. if he wants to come back, because he already has history with the organization.
I'm fine with Bruce Bochy. Like,
yeah, I think
like,
that would be a good hire.
Like, honestly, he's just been in the game for long enough. He knows how to. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's definitely been able to take rosters that are, but far worse than the current Padres roster and turn them into World Series teams.
I mean, yeah, like all of those Giants teams.
Yeah, most of them were nothing
They should not have won 3 World Series in 5 years, but they did. And I think
they did.
A lot of that's Bochy.
Most of it was Bochy. I'd say, as a Giants fan, I'd say
I
2012 and 2014.
Yeah, 2010 was, I think, Team of Destiny.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They're a good team.
But... Yeah, bring in a Tim Lincecum to manage, see what happens.
Yeah, but like, it's definitely interesting to throw the way he does.
I think you just got to get someone who's like recently retired that wants to get into it.
That's fair.
Wait, hear me out. Jeff Mathis.
Jeff Mathis, who's not retired, by the way. But
I thought he was kind of assuming a coaching role with the Braves organization.
Oh, was he? Did I miss that?
I think he kind of played for a bit in the early season, and then he was like, nah.
He did. I wouldn't be surprised. But Jeff Mathis would be a fantastic manager, I think. If he wanted to do it, he would be great. It'd be a great fit, in my opinion. I'm a big Jeff Mathis fan.
Like you need like the pitching was so inconsistent, and you need like a pitcher whisperer kind of guy.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it was like, I don't know who the manager of the Mets was back in like 2015, 2016. But like that guy fixed DeGrom.
That was Terry Collins.
Yeah. I think I watched a Jolly Owl video about how he fixed Jacob DeGrom.
No, yeah. If you can bring in someone who can fix their pitching, I think things will kind of line up. But it's easier said than done, you know?
Right, it's like make Caratini an elite framer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like just getting someone in like the 40 range as opposed to like a 70-year-old would just be such a benefit to the organization.
I agree. Honestly, I think a great manager hire would be one of the Molina brothers, Benji or Jose. I think they would be pretty good. I think Yachty eventually will make it.
Yachty's the third brother.
Yeah, but he's still playing. So
yeah.
The other two, I think, would be. I think it'd be something to consider.
I think Jose Molina, I'm trying. God, jeez Christ, there are so many random old players.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
Brandon,
know if Molina wants to
I feel like Brandon Phillips could manage that team.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go with guys. Yeah, I think of the list that I did present with Showalter, Sosha, Washington, I think Washington would be the most likely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think he'd also be the best fit.
Everyone loves Washington.
Yeah, Ron Washington's a great baseball guy. He was a great manager. He's been great in Atlanta. You know,
I think it's kind of a travesty that like a team, I don't know, like that a lot of the teams didn't take him, and they took like Joe Girardi and David Ross. Even though I like that hire, I feel like the Cubs team was old by the time they hired David Ross, so which basically kind of hire one of those legacy guys.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm curious to see what the Padres do, what their plan is. Their game plan right now seems to be a guy, big name, done it before, we'll do it again.
AJ Preller just wants to save his job at this point.
Yep.
And given that, I think I would put money on Ron Washington.
I would too.
But I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't hate it, but like you said, I like your idea a lot better. But I would also, if I was a betting man, I'd put money on
I think I've heard Skip Schumacher tied to the job of it.
I have that too. I think that'd be a good hire.
Such a good hire.
But like I said, we'll see what happens. It's up in the air. I'm by no means a.
His name is Skip, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. But anyway, we'll move on to inning 7, question 7 here. The Yankees decided this week to not only retain Aaron Boone, but they gave him a 3-year extension on his deal. This is a good move for the Yankees. Did Boone get more grief than necessary last season? And can the Yankees get back to the World Series with him at the helm?
I think that Aaron Boone gets way too much hate. He is entirely a victim of the New York media.
You're
much like Sam Darnold pretty much was in the realm of football. I know that we hate football on this show, but
that's not true.
Yeah.
I like football. You just don't talk about it. This is a baseball.
This is a baseball show. So yeah, with Aaron Boone, I think that he's not bad. I just think he's an entirely average manager. And I think I said that I said that about Jace Tingler on a previous podcast. I think he's an entirely average manager. And I think it's just the right move. Just keep the guy that knows the locker room. Keep the guy that knows the locker room. Like, I don't think I've ever heard any clubhouse complaints. Like, in recent years, if the organization wants a shift in managerial philosophy, they can just enact it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of organizations just override manager decision making. I thoroughly believe that's why they took out Blake Snell in Game 6. Sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes it's not. But it doesn't really matter. Like, who are they going to get that's better? Who are they going to get that's better than Aaron Boone? Like, who's on the market right now that's a better fit?
No, I think you're right. You bring up really, really good points. I think I agree with the point that he is kind of a victim of the New York media. I just don't like the Yankees. This is very well known. I often say the Yankees deserve nothing.
I, for one, am impartial to the Yankees.
No, I don't like them. I dislike the Yankees more than like the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, who are in the Giants division. And I don't like the Yankees. They're dumb, and I hate them. Anyway, beside the point. Boone, the 3-year extension. I don't think they win a World Series in that time, but it has nothing to do with Boone. It has everything to do with the way that team's constructed. I don't think that team is constructed for the best success in the world.
Brian Cashman is a bad general manager.
Yes, agreed. And I think he's more of a problem than Boone is. I think Boone does fine with his job. I mean, he got that team to the wildcard game this year. And I think that team is nothing overly special, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Like, he took Garrett Cole. He took Garrett Cole in a ragtag pitching staff to the wildcard game. That's extremely respectable.
Yeah. If they can add a bunch of pitching this offseason, they become a much scarier team. But until that happens, I mean, it's Garrett Cole and no one else, really.
I like Jordan Montgomery. He's pretty good.
Yeah, Montgomery's fine, but I don't think he's a 2.
He's a 3.
Yeah, I think he's a 3.
3 or 4. I mean, can't diss Jordan Montgomery like that. Like,
that's fair. But the point is, him being your number 2 is that's not quite what
not
you want,
good.
You know?
It's a lot like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of previous. It's a lot like having a Mike Leake in your rotation at all.
Yep,
at any point.
That's fair. God, Mike Leake was a Giant. I did not like it. I did not enjoy his Giants.
Mike, he's not going to be bad, but
he's an innings. He's a 5. Mike Leake's a 5.
Really?
He was a good 5. Mike Leake was a guy. His career, he was a very good 5 guy, but not really much else outside of that.
Didn't he get paid $90 million though?
Yes, he did. He got paid a lot of money.
Man,
but shout out Mike Leake, though. You know,
shouts to Mike Leake. He secured the bag and never played a minor league game.
Yeah, Mike Leake. What a wild career. I liked Mike Leake a lot.
What a fun guy.
Yeah,
he's the. Remember when he was in the Reds rotation with Bronson Arroyo?
We do like Bronson Arroyo.
That guy, he should be a manager.
Bronson Arroyo?
Yeah.
I can see it. I'd like it.
I think there's a distinct lack of long-haired white guys in the managerial ranks.
Long-haired managers in general. I can't give a single
manager. Really? Yeah, that's weird.
I'm not surprised. Most of them are 70. So.
Yeah, but even when they were young, all of them were short hair kind of guys.
That's fair. That's also a good point. I don't know. I don't think there's much of it.
I don't think I remember Dusty Baker having these long, luscious locks.
No, you're right. You're for sure right there.
Back to Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Back to the original point. Yeah, Aaron Boone. I mean,
I think he's just. I think he'll be fine. Like
yeah, I agree.
he is the mean manager. He is going to be the product of the team he is given.
Yes, that's
And I don't think
fantastic.
there's anyone on the market that you know for sure is not going to do worse than that. And
You
I
know what
think
you're
I really
getting.
like the move. Just you know what you're getting. You're getting he's the vanilla ice cream of managers.
That's a fantastic, I think, comparison. You're yeah. He's the Coca-Cola of managers, you know?
He
It's a
is the
product, it's
Jason Kipnis.
consistent.
He is the Jason Kipnis of managers.
Yeah. But I mean, if the Yankees can build a better team for him, he'll perform better. And that's like not the most groundbreaking thing in the world. You have better players, you play better, you win more. Like obviously, but like we were talking about, he's the product of his team. His team is not the product of what he does.
And
So
like Luis Rojas, I would go on a limb and say he was the worst manager this season, just because like the amount of one-run games he lost
yeah.
was just inexcusable. He like one-run games. That's a managerial thing for the most part.
Most of the time it is. It's sometimes it can be a player thing, but most of the time it
Like
boils down to
if your team loses 10-2, your team didn't perform. If your team loses 3-2, that's kind of got to be on you for part of it.
yeah. I think the only like one run managerial losses are the ones where it's a 1-0 game and your starter gives up 1 run in like 8 innings. Like, what are you gonna do? That's like
Yeah, that's not a
stuff
big
like
issue.
that.
But like a
But like
10-9
3-2.
loss, a
Exactly. That's a
10-9
manager.
loss, like come on, you could have brought in someone other than Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard to throw that inning.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. But we'll see what happens. Boone to the Yankees makes sense. It always made sense, I think. 3 years kind of seems like a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if he also doesn't ride out that entire contract. But it is what it is. But that is all 7 innings or 7 inning stretch. But we do have a quick extra inning, doubleheader, whatever, 8th inning, but it's extra innings. Just predict the World Series championship. How many games is it going to take the champion?
I am a thorough believer in the Bob Nightingale curse. He said Braves in 6. Therefore, it is going to be Astros in 6. I am extremely confident, like as of now, that will be Astros in 6, just because Nightingale said the exact opposite.
That's fair. I see. I want the Braves to win, but I think the Astros are going to win. I'm taking Astros in 7, though. I think it's going to be a closer series than a lot of people think.
I think if it goes to 7, I think the Braves win it.
That's fair. They definitely have that kind of season. They have that kind of firepower.
It's like because Dusty, I do not trust him in an elimination game. So
Also fair.
the Astros cannot get to an elimination game. If they do, I think they're done for.
Fair.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You're not wrong.
yeah, because Dusty Baker, great manager for the long haul, whole season. Don't trust him in an elimination game. Same guy that lost 3 straight to the 2012 Giants.
Yeah.
I think it's just the Astros have to play well enough so that they don't have to rely on Dusty Baker's managerial skill.
That's a fair point, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, that'll do for our 7th inning stretch. So our what to watch for this week, obviously World Series, Astros, Braves. Are there any specific storylines you're watching in that series?
I'm watching Eddie Rosario.
That's fair.
I think he just has to play like he has been. The Braves are good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm keeping an eye on the Astros pitching staff. I just want to see what they're going to do with them.
I think the Astros pitching staff is kind of a known constant at this point. I think
I'd agree, but also I feel like Dusty could change it up, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, for better or for worse. I think there's a lot of potential there to go kind of haywire, off the wall, something different. So we'll see. We will see what happens. But any closing words for you?
Go baseball.
That's fair. I definitely like those closing words. But yeah, anyway, that'll do it for us this week. You can see here at the bottom now, we've got a little ticker going. If you found us, if you listen to this, you made it this far, probably know where to find us online. Website diamond-digest.com. You can find us on Twitter at diamond_digest, Instagram diamond.digest. If you have free time, we write some cool stuff. You'll see stuff like this. You'll see some hot mics, hopefully, for this World Series. We'll hopefully cover most of the games. We'll be surprised if we don't. We've kind of been busy this last week. The people we have run up. But we're going to hope for this. We're going to try to get as many out for you. We're going to try to get the great baseball content we try to give you every single week. But besides that, that'll do it for us here. For Sam and myself, thank you for listening. And as always, go baseball.
Go baseball.
Go baseball.